We will now walk through some of the roles and responsibilities for the judge positions on Election Day. The greeter judge is responsible for welcoming voters and guiding them through the first steps in the voting process. The greeter judge should use the greeter list to confirm a voter's registration status. If a voter's name does not appear on the greeters list, the judge should consult the precinct finder to ensure that the voter is in the correct precinct. The greeter judge should always closely review the precinct finder or consult the other tools provided to ensure each voter is in the correct precinct. Never send a voter to another polling place without first consulting with another election judge to confirm that you are providing the voter with correct information. As the first person to see voters as they arrive at the polling place, the greeter judge should also be aware of restrictions on authorized persons and campaigning in the polling place. Only select individuals are allowed in the polling place. They include voters, authorized persons accompanying a voter, such as an assistant or voucher or the voter's children, authorized observers, appointed challengers, persons making a complaint, law enforcement only if their presence is requested by the head judge, members of the media with ID and proper credentials, and exit pollsters. Note that members of the media cannot interview voters and must not interfere with the voting process. Additionally, exit pollsters cannot be in the room where voting occurs. They can only offer an anonymous survey to voters after they have cast their ballot. There is no campaigning allowed within 100 feet of the polling place building. If the polling place is on public property, no campaigning is allowed anywhere on the property. For voters wearing campaign apparel or buttons, there are limited restrictions on what cannot be worn. It is very important to adhere to the following guidelines. If the item is for a candidate, party, or issue that appears on the ballot in your precinct, then it is prohibited. You should ask the voter to cover up or remove the item in question. If the item does not appear on the ballot, it is allowed. Do not ask voters to cover up or remove items if they are not on the ballot for that day. As an example, if a voter shows up at the August state primary election with a t-shirt supporting their preferred presidential candidate, that would be allowed because the office of the president is not on the ballot for that election. However, if that same voter wears that same t-shirt at the November general election, that would be prohibited because the office of the president is on the ballot that day. If a voter is wearing prohibited material, the election judge should explain why they are not allowed to wear the item in the polling place and ask them to cover up or remove the item. Use a calm approach. Most voters are very understanding once the law is explained to them. The head judge can step in if the voter has additional questions. If the voter refuses to remove the prohibited item, the judge must still allow the voter to cast their ballot. Record the voter's name and details in the incident log to refer to appropriate authorities. As a final note on campaigning, voters and judges should not discuss candidates or issues while at the polling place. Disorderly or intoxicated persons, as well as smoking, is prohibited at all polling places. Cell phone use is allowed, but it must not disrupt the voting process.